Senator Bob Menendez, chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, it's always a pleasure to see you. I thank you for your time. I want to begin with the detention of this Wall Street Journal reporter in Russia. What do you make of this detention?
Well, look, Mr. Gershkovich's detention is outrageous. It follows a pattern of Putin arresting, detaining, taking Americans hostage. He is fearful of what a free press will do to his authoritarianism, and that's why he often engages in labeling journalists either terrorists or foreign agents. He should be released immediately, and we will be engaged vigorously with the administration, not only in calling for his removal, but in finding ways in which we can have Russia pay an additional consequence for this.
Senator, I want to take your attention to something that is very concerning to you, I know, for many people as well. The issue of Taiwan. Taiwan's president is in the U.S. right now and will also travel to Central America. China says there will be retaliation if Taiwan's president meets with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy as expected. What is your message to China?
Well, this is the 7th transit that President Tsai has had through the United States. It's the 29th transit that a Taiwanese president has made to the United States. In all of those times, China has never acted with the fury that it is acting in this case. I myself have met President Tsai in the past when she was in New York. So the reality is this is just China using this transit visit as an excuse. And the Chinese cannot tell us, the United States of America, who we can and cannot meet with in the world, including the president of Taiwan.
You know, they have reacted in the past when Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. There was an uproar inside the Chinese regime. They did some military exercise, etc. What could be the reaction or consequences by China?
Well, look, I think this is, I hope, only sound and fury, but not action. You know, we saw when former Speaker Pelosi traveled to Taiwan that they scrambled jets. They had some of their warships, you know, in the Taiwan Straits. I myself, when I traveled there, I think it was a year ago, ended up with Chinese jets scrambling as we were approaching Taiwan. But those are all efforts to try to muscle us from doing what we have a legitimate right to do. We have a U.S. law, the Taiwan Relations Act, that establishes our relationships with Taiwan. We have had that for decades. There's no reason that we won't continue to engage. And I think what the Chinese need to know is that we will support the people of Taiwan in their rights to continue to operate as they do. And the world should be concerned about Chinese aggression towards Taiwan because of the disruption in supply chains, semiconductors, and chips. And this is why it's so important what we did last year in Congress to passing the CHIPS Act. It's also so important to stand by Taiwan.
Senator, I want to turn to Mexico. Mexico says now it will fine the people responsible for a fire at a government-run detention center near the U.S. border that left nearly 40 migrants dead and dozens more injured. And just yesterday, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador blasted the U.S. without using its name during the Summit for Democracy, which I understand you're the keynote speaker of. What is your message to the Mexican president?
My message is that you know, you should be looking at your the footage of your security guards going by a jail cell where people are on fire and doing absolutely nothing about it. How inhumane can that be? And this is a greater context of the whole issue of how we are dealing with migrants fleeing their country because of political or other persecution, and the consequences of the potential transit ban that the Biden administration is considering that would ultimately put people, force people back of all places into places like Mexico, which has clearly been shown to be unsafe. And the desperation that these people people have in being in jail-like cells when all they did is just simply seek to flee horrors of their own country. So it is a horrific action, and I don't understand how President López Obrador doesn't do anything about improving those conditions.
Is there a reality that maybe that's just not a priority for the Mexican government right now? It seems that all of these people that were in that detention center were going through the process in Mexico of requesting the documents they need to stay in Mexico while they await the possibility of getting asylum in the United States. It seems as though, Senator, there may not be a lot of focus on the people, the men, women, and children.
Oh, I think there is no sense of urgency or, for that fact, responsibility to the human lives that find themselves detained in Mexico. This is not of any significant priority for President López Obrador. If anything, I think he sees it as a problem, but not as something to be dealt with in a humane fashion. And he is always willing to cast away the responsibility to another entity, of which the United States is his biggest foil. But how you can go to sleep at night having seen that video where you could have saved lives and chose, the security guard chose not to, and not have consequences. Talk about consequences to those who may have lit the mattress out of despair. How about consequences to those who were entrusted with those people's lives and did nothing to save them?
And Senator, I know that you are involved in a piece of legislation that you will be introducing on the Veterans Affairs.
Yeah, this is a fix so that our veterans can be able to get VA benefits in terms of education from any school that they choose to do. We want to give our veterans the widest universe of getting the education that can now help them in the next chapter of their lives. I believe that's how a grateful nation ultimately honors those who serve, and this is one of the dimensions in which we do that.
Senator Bob Menendez, it's always a pleasure to see you. I thank you so much for being with us this morning.